Alright, so about a month ago, Sony dropped the WH-1000X M6s, the latest and one of the most popular and poorly named lines of premium noise cancelling headphones. And I'm going to be honest, I've used every single version of these since the Mark IIs, and I've never really liked any of them. But this time around, they've made some changes and early reviews have all been really positive, so I figured I'd give them another shot. So I've been using them for a couple of weeks now, and yeah, I've got some thoughts. And at this point, you've probably already seen all the spec breakdowns and feature rundowns, so I figured this video I'd do just more my personal experience, what worked for me and what didn't. Sony did not sponsor this video in any way. I bought these with my own money, and you can rest assured that these are my honest thoughts. First of all, this new case is fantastic. It's got this new magnetic clasp that is just way easier and faster to use than a zipper, and it's also got this felt loop on here so you can hook it onto the outside of your bag if you're packing a little heavy. The loop is a little bit long though, so I could see it becoming a little wrecking ball if you're not careful. And if you're worried about the clasp accidentally coming undone, I wouldn't be. The magnet is pretty strong, and even if you brush up on something and it does disengage, it snaps right back into place. I seriously love that and hope we see that on more headphone cases in the future. On the inside, you also get a place to store a charging cable and right angle aux cord that come with the headphones, which is great for if you want to use this on an airplane. Another thing making this more travel friendly is that they now fold, making them a lot more compact than before. For some reason they got rid of the folding on the last version, but glad to see it back here. The active noise cancellation is also better than ever. At this point, it's hard to tell who has the best because they're all so good, but this can go toe-to-toe with any of the best out there. This will have no problem blocking out the noise of an airplane engine or a noisy coffee shop. Sony claims that this is the best on the market, and I have no way of definitively proving or disproving that, but I believe him. And if you do need to hear what's going on around you though, the pass-through mode on here has gotten a huge upgrade. Everything sounds super crisp and natural, almost to the point of AirPods Max level. Like, it's very close, but if I had to choose, I would still say AirPods Max are a little bit better. The sound quality has also gotten a lot better as well. With past versions, I was never really a fan of how V-shaped the sound signatures were, where bass and treble were boosted up a ton and mids were so recessed that vocals sounded like they were coming from another room. It's still not even close to what I would call flat or neutral, and they shouldn't be because these are more meant for fun listening and not as much like studio use. But they are much better controlled, and I do find these to be pretty enjoyable to listen to. The battery life is also fantastic with a playback time of 30 hours, and if you do manage to run them down to 0, you can get 3 hours of playback time with just a 3-minute charge. And all that is great, but for me, these have a fatal flaw, and that is that these are incredibly uncomfortable. First off, the ear cups are just not deep enough. The cartilage of my ear will press up against the drivers, which I hate the feeling of, and a lot of headphones nowadays will angle the drivers away from your ears so they don't have to make contact. And what makes me kind of mad is if you take the cushion off and see what's going on behind there, the driver is actually angled away like that, but they have this piece of foam here, which is what your ear is actually going to be pressing up against. I'm guessing it's there to minimize internal echoing, but I think it would have been pretty easy for them to make more room for your ears to breathe. Also, the new material that they used for the ear cushions feels really cheap and plasticky. It kind of reminds me of the material that they use for school bus seats, which is not a compliment. And I don't really feel any discomfort from it when it's on my head, but on previous versions it was just crazy buttery soft, and I don't know why they switched over to this. Maybe for extra durability, but it just feels really cheap, and I'm not a fan of this on such a premium product. The headband is also pretty thin and doesn't have a ton of padding. I've heard from some people that this can cause some discomfort as well, but for me it never really became a problem because the clamping force was a much bigger issue for me. I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, when something was hurting, like if I had a small scrape or a headache, my friends would be like, hey, you want to know how to make it stop? And then they would punch me. And it's like, yeah, I guess I don't feel the headache anymore, but it's because now I'm feeling the punch. That's kind of how the whole headband situation feels for me. I do have a pretty large head, and if yours is a little bit smaller, it may be better for you, But for me, with all those factors combined, these were hard to keep on my head for more than like 30 to 45 minutes at a time. One thing I will give these credit for though is that they are very lightweight, and especially coming from AirPods Max, which are notoriously heavy, these feel light as air when they're on your head. But again, it's kind of hard to appreciate that when everything else about them makes them very uncomfortable for me. They also packed a ton of really technically impressive features in here, and I won't go over all of them because I find most of them to be pretty pointless, especially this new background listening mode, which I think is supposed to mimic how music sounds in a coffee shop or something like that to be less distracting, but it sounds more like if you were to videotape a concert from outside the stadium and then play back that audio on your phone. It just sounds super tinny and distorted, and I just don't know why anyone would ever choose to use that mode. Like, if you want something a little bit more low-key and less intrusive, you can always just lower the volume. The cinema listening mode, on the other hand, is actually pretty nice. It really helps widen the soundstage, which is nice for watching movies or shows, but it does come at the cost of some raw audio quality, so I'm not 100% sure I would say I prefer it over the standard mode, but it is nice to have another option that is pretty usable. One feature that I'm actually really excited for though is that you can connect this to 2 devices at the same time. This has been one of my favorite features of the AirPods for a long time now, and it's a big reason I find it hard to daily any other headphones. And while I still think the implementation on the AirPods are better for Apple users, this is the best way that I've seen it done on a non-Apple headphone. You can initiate the connection through the app, and the headphones will switch automatically between the 2 devices depending on which one is actually playing audio, basically the same as on AirPods. On other headphones that tried to do this in the past, you would need to remember a code of taps and holds to switch between devices and connect them, and it was just way too annoying to actually use. But this is actually super easy and intuitive to use, and it's definitely the best way that I've seen apart from AirPods. And that's part of what makes these so frustrating to me. These are some of the most technically impressive headphones that I've used, with good sound, great ANC, and a form factor that's great for traveling with. But for me, none of that really matters because I can't keep these on my head for more than like an hour max before they start to hurt. It might just be me though, so if you try these on and think they're perfectly comfortable, I have no problem recommending them because everything else about them is good. But those are my thoughts. I know it's not the most comprehensive review, but I figured you can find all the specs on the website, and this format would just save us both some time. Also, let me know in the comments if I'm just being a baby about the comfort on these, because I seriously just can't keep them on for an extended amount of time. If you've tried them before and they're really comfortable, let me know. But that's it for this one. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.